Hey, English learners. Welcome back to Speak First English, your go-to English podcast for real conversations, daily life English, and easy listening practice.
Yeah, this is the place where you learn real English from real talk, not from boring grammar books. I'm Jake.
And I'm Anna. So, Jake, before we start, how was your week? Did anything interesting happen?
Actually, yes. I had a funny moment at a cafe. There was a tourist, a young woman, who wanted to ask the waiter something, and I could see it. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Opened again, closed again, like a fish.
Oh no, I know that feeling.
She knew what she wanted to say. I could see it in her eyes, but the words just didn't come out. Finally, the waiter walked away and she just pointed at the menu.
Oh, that is so relatable. I think every English learner has had that moment. You know the words, your brain has the answer, but your mouth is frozen.
Exactly. And honestly, it's not about not knowing English, it's something else completely.
Which is exactly what we are talking about today.
Perfect timing.
Today's topic is one of the most requested things we hear from you, our listeners. So many of you write to us and say, Anna, Jake, I can understand you perfectly. I know the grammar, I know the words, but when it comes to speaking, I freeze.
And we hear you. That gap between understanding English and actually speaking it is one of the most frustrating places to be stuck.
So today we are going to talk about how to break that silence, how to go from thinking in your head to speaking out loud with confidence, or at least with enough courage to start.
And before we dive in, if this episode helps you today, please share it with one person. You know that friend who always says, "My English is not good enough to speak," but then understands everything? Yes, send it to them.
Because this episode is exactly for that friend. And honestly, sometimes it's us too.
Okay, Anna, let's start simple. What does it actually mean to freeze when speaking English?
Good question. Freezing means you have the knowledge, you have the words, but something in your brain stops the signal before it reaches your mouth. You think, you translate, you check, you doubt, and then the moment is gone.
So it's not a language problem, it's more like a traffic jam.
Yes, that's a perfect picture. Think about a big city during rush hour. The cars are there, the road is there, but nothing is moving.
And in our brain, the cars are the words we know, the road is the connection between thinking and speaking, and the traffic jam is fear.
Exactly. And the only way to clear a traffic jam is not to add more cars, it's to start moving, even slowly.
I like that. So more grammar and more vocabulary won't fix it?
Not alone, because the problem is not in the garage, it's on the road.
You know, this reminds me of something that happened to me. Can I share a story?
Yes, always. Stories help us remember.
So a few years ago, I had a job interview in English. I had prepared everything. I practiced my answers at home, alone, perfectly. I felt ready. But when I walked into that room and the interviewer looked at me and said, "So, tell me about yourself," my mind just went blank.
Oh no, total blank?
Total blank. I knew the answer. I had said it 100 times at home. But right there, under pressure, with another person looking at me, nothing came out. I said, I am, and then 5 seconds of silence.
5 seconds feels like 5 minutes in that moment.
It really does. And after that interview, I thought, why? I knew the English, so why did I freeze? And I realized I had been preparing to perform, not to communicate, and those are very different things.
That's such an important difference, and I think today's tips come from that exact lesson, the difference between preparing to be perfect and learning to actually speak. So let's talk about tip number 1, and this one explains so much. Tip 1, understand your inner translator.
Inner Translator, tell us more.
Okay, imagine you have a little person living inside your head. This person is job to take everything you want to say in your native language, translate it into English, check it for mistakes, approve it, and only then allow it to come out of your mouth.
Oh, I definitely have that person. He is very slow and very critical.
Most learners do, and this inner translator was useful at the beginning when you were a beginner, but at intermediate level, he becomes your biggest problem.
Because he slows everything down.
Exactly. By the time he finishes translating and checking, the conversation has moved on and you missed your moment.
So the goal is not to translate perfectly. The goal is to think less and speak sooner.
But isn't that scary? What if I make a mistake?
You will, and that's okay. Think about it this way. When you learned to ride a bicycle, did you first study all the physics of balance? Did you read books about wheel mechanics?
No, I just got on and fell several times.
And then?
And then I learned because my body figured it out.
Speaking is the same. Your mouth and your brain learn by doing, not by studying. The inner translator wants everything to be perfect before you speak, but perfect comes after speaking, not before.
So we need to fire the inner translator?
Not fire, just tell him to take a small break.
Okay, tip number 2. What is it?
Tip 2 is something I call the first word rule, and it is very simple but very powerful.
I'm listening.
Think about a car engine on a cold morning. When it's cold, starting the engine is the hardest part, but once it starts, it runs, it warms up, everything flows.
Yes, I know that feeling with old cars. The first second is always the loudest.
Exactly. Speaking English is the same. The first word is the hardest. After the first word, the second comes more easily. After the second, the third. Once you start, the engine warms up.
So the rule is just say the first word?
Just say the first word, any word, even so, or well, or I think. Just open your mouth and begin, because silence grows. The longer you wait, the bigger the wall gets. But the moment you speak, the wall starts to break.
I have a small personal example here. When I'm in a conversation and I feel nervous, I now have a habit. I start every answer with, "That's a good question," or "So let me think." It gives me 2 seconds to breathe and start.
And those 2 seconds change everything, right?
Everything. My brain relaxes, and then the real answer comes.
So the first word rule is your secret starter. Don't wait until the perfect sentence is ready. Say the first word and trust that the rest will follow, because it will.
Okay, Anna, tip number 3.
Tip 3 is something I call good enough English, and this one is very important, especially for perfectionists.
Uh-oh, I feel personally attacked.
Many of our listeners feel the same. So what is good enough English? It means that communication is the goal, not perfection, not a perfect accent, not perfect grammar, communication.
But doesn't everyone judge mistakes?
Let me ask you something, Jake. If a tourist came up to you and said, "Excuse me, where is train station?" with a strong accent and a small grammar mistake, would you help them?
Of course, I understood them completely.
Did you think less of them?
No, I just thought, oh, they're brave for asking.
Brave, that's the word. People don't respect perfect English. They respect the courage to speak. I have a friend who speaks English with many small mistakes, wrong articles, mixed tenses, but she speaks confidently, she communicates clearly, and everyone loves talking to her.
Because she doesn't stop herself.
Exactly. She decided that good enough English is real English, and the moment she made that decision, her speaking completely changed. She stopped waiting to be perfect and started actually living in the language.
So the shift is from I need to be right to I need to be understood.
Yes, and that shift is everything. Okay, we have one more tip that I really love. Tip 4, the speaking gym.
Oh, this one is so practical.
So think about going to the gym. When you start going to the gym, you don't start by lifting the heaviest weight on day 1, right?
Right, you'd hurt yourself or embarrass yourself or both.
Both happened to me. But you start small, light weights, simple exercises. Slowly you build strength, and then the heavy weights start to feel lighter.
And speaking is exactly the same muscle. You don't start with a TED Talk, you start with small reps.
Yes, so what are the small reps for speaking English?
Here are some ideas. Every morning, describe your day out loud in English, even to yourself, even to your plant. Today, I will go to work. I will have a meeting. Later, I will cook dinner. Simple. Just move your mouth.
I actually do this. I narrate my morning like a documentary. And now Jake is making coffee. He looks tired. He needs this.
That is perfect speaking gym practice. Another rep, when you watch this podcast, after we finish a section, pause and say out loud what we just talked about, in your own words, in English.
That's shadowing.
A form of it, and it works because you're not performing, you're practicing. The speaking gym is a private space, no audience, no judgment, just reps.
And the more reps you do alone, the easier it gets in real conversations.
Because your mouth starts to remember, your tongue learns the shapes of English words, and when the moment comes in real life, your body already knows what to do.
And our final tip, tip 5, break the silence wall.
Every time you have a chance to speak English and you don't, you add one brick to a silence wall, and this wall grows over weeks, over months, until it feels impossible to break.
But every time you speak, even one sentence, even with mistakes, you remove a brick.
Exactly, and you don't need